everybody. Oh, it's so good to see. Wasn't Dominique amazing? Can we hear it for Dominique? It's so good to be back in Reno. I'm so happy to see you guys, and what a beautiful day. And look I never knew there were blue pumpkins. Isn't this fantastic? First, I just want to thank Patricia Ackerman, who, of course, is running for Congress in Nevada, too. Let's make sure we take care of that. And then, of course, Wendy Hadigi Jenkins, the candidate for state senator in Nevada. Dr. Angie Taylor, Washoe County School District. And then Dominique. Okay, I'm just going to come over here. So it's so good to see you guys. It's so good to be back in Reno. And thank you all for coming out this afternoon. Everybody's got a busy life, and these are tough days. And thank you all for the time and for the energy and for your commitment to fighting for our democracy. You know, I've been doing a lot of interviews, as you can imagine, and people say, well, what do you think is going to happen, you know, the day after the election, right? You've heard all that talk. And I said, look, here's what I truly believe. Yeah, we've taken a battering. There's no question about it over these last 3.5 years. You know, if you think about our democracy as kind of a house, you know, yeah, the shingles have fallen off a little bit. But the house is still standing. The house is still standing. And I'll tell you why. Because I do believe that our democracy will always be as strong as our willingness and preparedness to fight for it. And fight we will, because look at what I'm looking at. And there are a bunch of folks over there that because we had to socially distance, so we got friends over there too. People are turning out. I've been going all over the country, and these last like 10 days or so, in particular visiting with folks who are in early voting. And here in Nevada, early voting until Friday, October 30th. So let's make sure everyone votes and vote early. Just get it done, get it in. And I'm telling you guys, people are standing in line, and the enthusiasm and the energy, and it's because they know what you know, which is, you know, this is our country, and we love our country, and we're prepared to fight for it. So that's where we are. And look, I mean, there is so much at stake in this election. I don't have to tell you guys that. We are in the midst of at least 4 crises that are happening all at the same time. We're in a crisis that is caused by this pandemic, which has created a mass casualty event like we have not seen since World War II, where we are looking at over 225,000 Americans who just in the last several months have died, many of whom were without a loved one next to them because of the nature of this, many of whom the family was hoping at least they could FaceTime or see each other virtually for their last days on earth. People are mourning. Over 8.5 million people have contracted this virus with unknown long-term consequences, including lung scarring, things of that nature. And the thing is that Donald Trump and Mike Pence, thanks to Bob Woodward, we know, knew back on January 28th that it is lethal, 5 times as deadly as the flu, that it could harm young people, that it is airborne, and they sat on that information. And then had the gall, the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, whose first order of business should always be to protect the health and safety of the American people, sat on that information and called it a hoax. Can you guys imagine if you had known, if parents had known, if small business owners had known, if teachers had known what the president knew on January 28th, what you might have done to prepare? Because let's not forget, even before this pandemic, folks were hurting. Even before this pandemic, folks were working 2 and 3 jobs to try and get through the month and pay the bills. And in the America Joe Biden and I believe in, people should only have to work 1 job to pay the rent and put food on the table. People were hurting already. The average American family was struggling to have maybe $1,000 in savings. Can you imagine what folks might have done to prepare? Not to mention buy toilet paper. Right? And they sat on this information. And now, in the midst of a public health pandemic, Donald Trump and his boy, Bill Barr, are in the United States Supreme Court. I voted no on that vote last night for confirmation, by the way. They're in court right now suing to get rid of the Affordable Care Act that brought health care to over 20 million Americans, that said people with pre-existing conditions should not be denied access to coverage. People who have diabetes, high blood pressure, breast cancer, lupus. Do you know over 1 million Nevadans have pre-existing conditions? And they're in court right now trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. And it is a statement about who this person is. This president, who in the midst of the kind of suffering we are seeing, has and is continuing with this very weird obsession he has had since he ran for president to undo whatever Barack Obama created. It's a weird obsession, by the way. We don't need a president with weird obsessions, right? Let's just move beyond that thing too, right? We're in the midst of a public health crisis. We are in the midst of an economic crisis, being compared to the Great Depression, where over 30 million Americans in just the last several months had to file for unemployment. Here in Nevada, 1 in 7 families is describing their household as being hungry. We're in the midst of a hunger crisis in America. People aren't talking enough about that. In fact, I saw numbers that 1 in 5 mothers is describing her children under the age of 12 as being hungry. In Nevada, we are looking at 1 in 7 households who are finding it difficult if they don't have the ability to pay rent. In Nevada, 1 in 4 small businesses has gone out of business, and it's important to know that of the American workforce, almost half of the American workforce either runs a small business or works for a small business. The economic devastation is profound. And then when you listen to Donald Trump, even in the last debate, he's talking about we're rounding the corner. What is he saying? Rounding the corner. When people are struggling to keep a roof over their head. But here's the difference again. And the clear difference on all these issues. So on public health, Joe Biden is saying, let's expand the Affordable Care Act that Barack Obama and I brought into being. Let's bring down Medicare eligibility to age 60. Let's recognize that we need to bring down the cost of premiums and drug prices. Let's recognize that when we're talking about health care, the body doesn't just start from the neck down. It also requires health care from the neck up, calling mental health care. And let's expand that. And on the other hand, you have Donald Trump trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. On the economy, Joe Biden says, you want to ask me about how the economy is doing? Tell me how working people are doing. Tell me how working families are doing. Joe Biden says, we're not going to increase taxes on anyone making less than $400,000 a year. And we're going to make sure that working families don't pay more than 7% of their income in child care. And yes, we are going to raise the minimum wage, but we also know that's the minimum, and we need to invest in what we can do in terms of innovation and building infrastructure and investing in good union-paying jobs to build up the middle class in America. And on the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who when asked, how's the economy doing? He asked, well, how's the stock market doing? How are rich people doing?